back to the channel. It's your boy King Philip, and yeah, let's talk about Knock at the Cabin.
We say you shouldn't make things up when we're talking about.
Can you open the door, please?
Knock at the Cabin is the newest movie by M. Night Shyamalan, and if you know anything about M. Night Shyamalan, you know that you could probably expect like a reveal or some type of big twist at the end of the movie, and this movie is no different.
What a twist!
However, I have seen some people say that they didn't really think there was one or whatever, but I think there was one, but I think it was very mild, but I'll come back to that in a minute. But long story short of this movie is that it's about 3 family members out vacationing in the woods at a cabin. They get approached by 4 strangers. Those strangers ultimately kidnap them and then tell them, hey, y'all gotta sacrifice yourself to avert the apocalypse. Yeah, of course that's crazy. And that's mainly the movie though. From that point on, the movie is just a story of the strangers going back and forth with the family on trying to convince them that, hey, this is real. And once the family sees that it's real, they have to come to the hard conclusion that somebody has to be sacrificed. Ultimately, they sacrifice somebody, they get everything solved and save the world. And that's the end of the movie. I think what I liked about most of the movie is the acting, because it helps the suspense of the movie. Like, without everybody in this movie having that feeling of fear be portrayed like it was, the movie doesn't work. Like, the family being afraid that these folks are just crazy and want to kill them works, and the strangers being afraid that, hey, the world is about to come to an end works. Like, and everybody just played their part exceptionally well. A couple of the standouts, I'll say, would be like the character, Daddy Andrew. His character didn't want to hear nothing, he didn't trust nothing, and I think the backstory lends more to telling how his character came to where he doesn't have any more optimism. The only thing he knows is what he can see and touch. And I think most of that is because in his backstory, once he got beat up at that bar, it just changed his whole outlook on life. But it just so happened that that guy that beat him up at the bar is one of the 4 strangers that has them kidnapped. So it kind of makes him less open-minded to the idea that this is somewhat of a bigger issue than just 4 strangers kidnapping him and torturing him. Because he thinks that guy's there to just torture him some more. He even knows his name. And now that I think about it, I'm guessing Andrew was the main focus of the movie because it was his storytelling of how he went from optimism to pessimism to now being at a place where he had to walk on faith. Now that I think about it, I think that was the gist of his character. And I think the character of Leonard, played by Dave Bautista, was done exceptionally well. Like, I haven't really seen Dave Bautista in any other movies outside of Guardians of the Galaxy, one of the Bond movies. Hey, I know there's been some other movies I've seen him in, but nothing where he's had to display his acting chops like this movie. And I think he did great. Like, his character is a 2nd grade teacher that coaches basketball. And the way that they establish his connection with the young girl, with him being, and I think it worked so well with him being so physically menacing. Like, you would be scared of him seeing him, but once he starts talking to try to convince you that what he's saying is true and he's trying to tell you that, hey, the world's about to come to an end, it feels so real because he's not coming from a place of just what he looks like. Like, he looks like he'll probably just cuss you out and tell you, hey man, you better go sacrifice yourself or else the world gonna burn. And that's not who the character is. He's as scared as everybody else. You know, he doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to be doing that. And I think Dave Bautista did well at that. The twist, I think, in this movie is at the end, and before you get to the twist, you have this nice scene with the young girl and the character Andrew, where they've survived the apocalypse. Daddy Eric chose to be the one that would go out in the sacrifice because he thinks he's seen a vision as well. And so you get a nice scene between the the daughter and Daddy Andrew, where I guess they're probably about to steal somebody's truck, but they turn the radio on and their favorite song, Boogie Shoes, comes on, and it feels like a sign from Daddy Eric telling them everything's gonna be okay. Daddy Andrew quickly turns it off, the girl turns it back on, and she turns it on. It feels like she turned it on to say like, hey, that's Daddy Eric. He's trying to tell us that everything's gonna be okay. So then she turns it off, but then Daddy Andrew quickly turns it back on as if to say, yeah, you're right, we are gonna be okay. And then they drive off into the sunset. I thought that was dope. The twist in this movie is very mild. I don't think it was meant to be a very big twist, but I think it was meant to be there and I think it was set up in dialogue by Leonard, where he says, this has happened for a millennia. Like, there's always been an apocalypse. People have always had to choose somebody to be sacrificed to avert the apocalypse. And when you get to the end where Andrew and the young girl are in the diner before they steal the car and ride off, but they're in the diner watching the news reports. The news reports are only reporting the natural events as just temporary natural events, as in, if you relate it to real life, it's like any other natural event that's been the biggest in history or whatever, right? But I think the twist on that is to think that the real natural disasters in real life have been actual apocalyptic events that have been averted. I think that's the twist on most of it. And I think there was something else that was a twist in it too, or a reveal, but I can't remember what that was. But I think that was the mild twist of the movie.
Empathy. Intolerance. Is that what you're here to talk about now that you have the queers tied up?
Andrew, I assure you that we're not here with hate or prejudice in our hearts, not at all.
We don't have one homophobic bone in our bodies.
I don't hate anybody. I do have conflicted feelings about the store.
Some of the controversial stuff I think that may come out of this movie is kind of interesting because, of course, you got a gay couple, right? They're raising a child. That's a controversial topic to a certain degree. But it's interesting that you get the gay couple to be chosen. And so in this movie, it feels like M. Night Shyamalan either put this dialogue to defend himself from critics, possibly thinking that he had a gay couple in this movie to be sacrificed because they were gay, or maybe it's just part of the original story because this does come from a book. But either way though, I just found it interesting that you got a gay couple that is chosen to be the sacrifice. Now, anybody you put in this situation, they probably gonna be, unless it's just your average straight white couple, you probably won't have too much of an issue with that being a thing in the movie. With it being a gay couple and then them having to choose to sacrifice themselves to save the world, as if to say, for whatever reason, they are the damn. It seemed like you would say they are the damnation of like a Sodom and Gomorrah type event. Like they are in the wrong and had to sacrifice themselves in order to save the world. I don't know. It just feels like I can see somebody looking at it from that angle where, oh, they got the gay couple because they ain't supposed to be doing that, and so God didn't like that, so he made them sacrifice themselves to save the world. I can see somebody saying that. Right? I can see that being an issue. And outside of that, probably being an issue where you have the Daddy Eric character become like a Christ-like figure to sacrifice him, to figure out that he needed to sacrifice himself to save the world. So I can see some people raising some issues about that as far as Christianity and being gay and stuff. I can see somebody doing that. We live in that age for it. But other than that though, I mean, I think the movie was pretty good. Nice M. Night Shyamalan cameo as always. That's about it. If you seen it, let me know what you thought in the comments, man. That's about all I got on it. Peace.